Hey, hey, hey. Happy Thursday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, simply enough, the GamingGang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everyone. Tonight is Thursday, January 8th, 2026. This is live stream 1274. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out it's super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then we will normally take a first look at a game release. More often than not, it is a role-playing game release. Every once in a while, we'll do a board game. Sometimes I might actually tackle a topic related to the hobby. And every once in a blue moon, I just do an AMA and just chew the fat with chat. But tonight, we're going to dive on in. We are going to take a look at the 13th Age Second Edition Gamemaster's Guide from Pelgrane Press. On Tuesday, we took a look at the Player's Handbook. That is the name of it, right? Player's Handbook? Pretty sure it was. I know it's a player's book. So tonight we're going to dive in and take a peek at the GM book. So that is coming up in just a bit. If you are tuning in live and you're tuning in for the first look, I want to point out, if you're not familiar with the show, we always tackle the tabletop gaming news first around here. So it'll probably be about 35, maybe 40 minutes before we get into that first look. So if you're watching live, just kick back, put your feet up, relax. We'll get to that first look, I promise. If you happen to be watching this 30 minutes or more after the stream has ended, there will be timestamps. There will be blood. Now, they'll just be timestamps. And that way, if you just feel an urgent need to jump past all the really cool tabletop role-playing game news I've got, well, you'll be able to, and you'll be able to get right on into that first look. And depending on the device you might be watching this on, timestamps might be right there in the timeline of the video. Not too shabby. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit GamingGang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And then, of course, because this is a live stream, there is chat available. It's something that is going to be a little bit different tonight because I've changed up the resolution of the video. We will find out how well that works when we get into that first look and we hit that overhead camera. But the chat has also got a little more latency to it now because the stream is in 1440p, which weirdly enough, we had it going in 1440p before. I know my uploaded videos are 1440, and I could have swore because I had bumped up the bit rate of the amount of data that's being uploaded, being streamed, that I guess YouTube was automatically making it 1440. I dropped it back down to 1080. So we're going to see what happens with this. So we'll find out. We'll see. Hopefully, maybe it's a little bit sharper. I don't know. Hopefully, we don't start dropping frames. Knock on wood. Anyway, as far as chat goes, you have to be a subscriber to the channel for at least an hour before you can take part. So if you check that box and you want to say howdy, maybe got a question, a comment, by all means, chime on in. I will do my very best to respond. A couple of people jumping the gun tonight, so they get mentioned last. So, first out the gate is our good friend, the Madman. Yes, the Madman is with us, as is Semper Buffo. We also have Tessie Trekkie. Mike is here. Kathy Evans. And we also have Agile Monk and Kevin R. Smith. Those are the two jumping the gun early. It's weird. It just makes the chat look strange when people post before the stream actually starts. But, we live. We live. Tessie Trekkie says, 1440p, that's a cheap pint in London. Really? Now that I think about it, yeah. Beer prices have gone up so much since I did much drinking. I almost never drink anymore. I will drink when I go to Philadelphia, because that's just par for the course whenever we hit conventions. There's a bit of drinking, but even nowadays, not as much as we once did. I mean, we used to really pound when we were at Comic-Con. It was usually on someone else's dime. And you get older, you just kind of ease back off of these sorts of things. All right, so let's jump on into the news, because arriving next month from Paizo Inc. is the Season of Ghosts adventure path for Pathfinder. Here's the latest. The small town of Willowshore has a big problem. It's cursed. When a group of heroes awaken in the woods after a festival to usher out the last day of spring and welcome into summer, a time known locally as the Season of Ghosts, they find their hometown has been invaded by monsters, strange weather, and horrifying ghosts. Now, hey, it's a season of ghosts. Why not, right? Yet these manifestations of the ancient evil that threatens Willowshore are nothing compared to the harrowing secrets awaiting discovery in Season of Ghosts. This 368-page hardcover adventure compilation includes the complete Pathfinder campaign for character levels 1 through 12. This updated and remastered edition of the campaign has been adjusted to work perfectly with the Pathfinder 2nd Edition remaster. It includes updates and improvements based on player feedback. It also presents a meaty rules appendix, which offers feats, monsters, spells, and magic items designed to support this haunting, unforgettable campaign. The 368-page hardcover will carry an MSRP of $79.99 when it lands in stores February 4th. Yowza. I actually reviewed the 4 chapters of Season of Ghosts. If you're curious about this, you can, by all means, check out my reviews. I liked it. I thought it was a pretty interesting campaign, especially because it's Asian themed. I think that brought a lot to the table. Kind of curious what changes they will have made with this, but Sammy will do the review on this because I already reviewed it the first time around. Now, if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, holy shit, they want $79.99? Keep in mind, if you had purchased all 4 chapters of this adventure path, it would have run you $100, give or take a few cents. Because the first 2 chapters were $19.99, and then the last 2 chapters was right after the price increase for the adventure paths had taken place for Paizo Inc. at that point in time. So they went up to $24.99. So yes, you would have spent nearly $100 for the 4 chapters. Now you'll get it in one single hardcover with updates for a little bit less than that. So there you have it. Very nice. The Madman's talking about buying a $160 bottle of bourbon aged in mead casks. When I was a bartender for Big Money Resorts in Arizona, we used to have a couple of cognacs that the bottles were, this is without any cognac in it, right? The bottles were worth over $1,000. And we used to sell shots of it. Shots of the more expensive was $200 an ounce for the cognac. And I actually worked with a guy who dropped 2 of the bottles. Ouch. Cleaning them. And within about a week. And I was there both times. And first time he was up there, you know, dusting stuff off, picking stuff up, and he dropped it. It was like, oh my God. I was like, thankfully it wasn't full, but the bottle itself was like $1,200. So I was like, holy cow. And then we had, you know, a couple of extras in back, you know, so if we ran out, and I'll be damned, about a week later, he's up there dusting stuff off because he was the new guy. New guy's got, you know, the grunt work. I'll be damned if he didn't drop it and break that one. I was like, yep, this guy's gone. And he was. He got fired. Sorry to say. Yes. Kevin R. Smith says, from now on, Paizo's going to release all the adventure paths in single volumes. I wonder how consumer psychology is going to work when there are no individual chapters for comparison. I don't know. I honestly don't know. The other thing I'm kind of curious about is because we're supposed to be seeing quarterly releases for Pathfinder. Does this count as our first quarter release, even though it's an older campaign? It's not that old. It is an older campaign, but I would have thought we would have gotten some new like new single volume adventure paths, but maybe they're floating this out to show people, hey, look, you're actually saving money with this. If you had bought these separately, it would have been almost $100. You know, Mammoth says they received the 3rd and 4th chapters of this for Christmas. They actually had the first 2 before they announced the combined compilation. Well, all righty then. Agile Monk is popping back in. He swung on in before the stream started to say hello, and now he's back. So good to see ya. All right, moving right along. Available in print and PDF from Neon Rot and Exalted Funeral is the horror journaling game Dreadfarer. And here's what I know. Welcome to Lemuria, explorer. Many like you have come to these recently discovered lands in search of riches to spoil, knowledge to gain, or to escape their turbulent past. In your pockets, you have all the money you could get by selling what you had in this old sketchbook. Before you left, you promised you would fill it with a tale of your adventures. Did a friend gift it to you? Are you following the footsteps of an earlier explorer that met a terrible fate here? During your trip, you'll need to use what little money you have to purchase necessary items, transportation fares, hire locals to help you, or to get yourself out of a hairy situation. Your expedition will end when you fill out your sketchbook, lose all your money, or find your ultimate goal. Or if you die. But I'm not going to. Come on, Jeff. Read it. It's English. But I'm not too concerned about that. Just fill in your paperwork. There's a line behind you. This includes 213 pages of prompts, art, and horrors. Fill out a journal with your own terrifying adventures. Uncover the secret glyphs of the Nephilians. Fight the giant enemy crab. Secret glyphs of the Nathanphilians. What are those? The 220-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $54. That is available over at Exalted Funeral. It does not come with the PDF, and it did not look like Exalted Funeral is selling a PDF. But you can grab the PDF from Neon Rots for $20. That's kind of interesting. I like the cover. And granted, I'm not necessarily a journaling sort of solo gamer, but still, this looks unusual. Kind of odd, like weird giant skull there. It's like, all righty. Moving right along, the Painted Wasteland for Old School Essentials from Agamemnon Press. Okay, is this the weirdest thing? I have been doing live streams and videos for how long now? And I don't think I have ever said the name Agamemnon until yesterday. And now I'm saying it again. So twice in 2 days. Very, very strange. Very, very strange. Anyway, the Painted Wasteland is the subject of a money-saving offer over at Bundle of Holding. And I've got the deets on the deal. Adventurer. This all-new Painted Wastelands bundle tours, well, you guessed it, the Painted Wastelands, a prismatic pastel realm from Agamemnon Press for use with Old School Essentials and other tabletop fantasy role-playing game retro clones. Many paths might have sent you to this desert fever dreamland on the endless plains. An eldritch misfire, perhaps, or a failed attempt to dethrone a god. It happens. Or if you just made a desperate jump through a screaming archway. Now stuck here in the lower ethereal hierarchy, you must survive the bleeding eye preachers, enormous sky jellies, the laughing spider, acolytes of the void cult, and fungal canyons. Become a neuromancer, master of dreams, or a cat, master of looking cute. Navigate warring factions. Rescue a village of avian alchemists from the floating mausoleum of the sky ghouls. Search for mummified demigods in the violet ruins of the Aeon dwellers. Get cursed and undertake the pilgrimage of Yabadabathos to get cured. Seek treasure and glory, and, if you're lucky, find a way out. Created by artists Tim Malloy and Chris Willett, the Painted Wastelands conjures a surreal, sherbet-colored landscape filled with wonders inspired by Mobius and H.P. Lovecraft. With its vibrant world of avian alchemists, desert weirdos, ravenous ghouls, and teeth-stealing nightmares, appeals to fans of the ultraviolet grasslands, Yoon Suin, and Troika. Oh, hey, and did I mention you can play a cat? For just $17.95, you'll get all 5 titles in the Painted Collection, just retail value of $71, as DRM-free PDFs, including the complete 361-page full-color The Painted Wasteland Setting Guide, along with its player's guide and referee screen. The Strange Tales of the Painted Wastelands Gazetteer and Equipment Guide, and the full-length adventure, The Quest Unpronounceable. Although I just pronounced it. These savings will run through January 21st. I have heard various things about the Painted Wastelands. I have shared news about some of the releases because I like the artwork. I think the art is very, very cool and does have a really serious Mobius vibe to it, which, you know, kind of brings back memories of old heavy metal magazines and things like that when I was in high school and college. So I've heard good things. I've heard bad things. So what I have heard is that it is super gonzo. It is really out there. And then, so in my book, those are kind of positives. But then I've also heard from other people that it's a little too silly. There's too much that isn't really taken seriously. So I don't know. But you can get it really, really inexpensively right now. In fact, you can pick up the 5 PDFs for, I do believe, less than just the PDF for the setting guide. So there is that. I'm sure there's tons of stuff in here that you could utilize. Tessie Trekkie says this and UVG by Luka Rajik give them similar vibes. And yes, they know his new game is hugely overdue. Oh, yeah, it is. Because I'm a backer. And it's like, all right, one of these days. Anyway, yeah, I mean, we get updates and stuff, and it's like, okay. One of these days, Alice. So there you have it. The Painted Wastelands. Talk about saving more money on another role-playing game, because right now Humble Bundle is offering a deal on Dungeon Crawl Classics PDFs presented by Bob Worldbuilder. And here's the lowdown. Humble is bringing the heat to start off 2026 with Bob's Big Dungeon Crawl Classics RPG Mega Bundle. Say that 5 times fast. From tabletop role-playing game content creator Bob Worldbuilder. I don't know how it's from him, but he's the one getting the credit for it. Add nearly 100 unique assets, campaigns, and more to your home collection, including the latest Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game core rulebook, the Dungeon Crawl Classics Dying Earth box set, the epic adventure of Dungeon Crawl Classics number 102, Dweller Between the Worlds, and beyond. Plus, the first 7,500 purchasers are eligible to receive a printed pack of 4 Dungeon Crawl Classics floppy adventures. They're softcover adventures. You know, they're 30-odd page softcover Dungeon Crawl Classics adventures. Get this legendary collection before it's gone and help support child's play when you do. Now, hey, where'd the Monty Cook Games thing come from? What the hell? Damn it. I tell you, it's always something. Always something. Anyway. The codes will be redeemable through DriveThruRPG. Now you can jump aboard for as little as $1, and that includes the core rulebook. I gotta say, I think this is the first time I have seen a bundle featuring Dungeon Crawl Classics that at the lowest tier for $1, I'd buy that for $1. You get the core rulebook. And that's not it. There are some other PDFs you get with that. It's not just the core rulebook and, you know, like player character sheets and game master screen. No, I want to say there's a couple of adventures with that as well. Now, if you want to score all 98 PDFs on offer, you can do so for a minimum donation of $18. Zoinks! We're talking fanatical prices here. In fact, wasn't it Fanatical that had the Dungeon Crawl Classics bundle, but it was the early Dungeon Crawl Classics, which are, you know, for 3.5 and 4E D&D. Could have swore that was Fanatical. So $18 gets you 98 PDFs. In fact, it looks like it's practically everything that Goodman Games has released for Dungeon Crawl Classics, with some exceptions. So Caverns of Thracia is not part of this, which we took a look at the Caverns of Thracia yesterday. Also, Lankmar is not part of this because they can't sell it anymore. So, yeah, they don't have the license from the Fritz Leiper estate any longer. But as you can see, you get Dark Tower, and you also get some of the additional Dark Tower adventures. Yeah. Grimtooth's Old School Traps. Yeah. I mean, I was like blown away by this. So, if you've ever kicked around the idea of, well, you know, people talk about Dungeon Crawl Classics, I'd like to check it out. Yeah. Do I want to invest in another role-playing game? And I get it. I understand. I completely understand. That's why you'll never hear me say, oh, everybody could afford this. No. I never say that. I don't know what your financial situation is, right? So you will never hear me say, oh, everybody could. But if you've been knocking around, checking out DCC, which I am a fan of Dungeon Crawl Classics. I enjoy Dungeon Crawl Classics. How can you say no to this? $18 gets you practically everything that's been done. I mean, you even get Music of the Spheres, which was a $100 role-playing adventure. The physical release, I want to say, was $100. And it was also the 100th Dungeon Crawl Classics adventure as well. But I mean, just Dark Tower alone. That's more than $18 for the PDF. This is crazy. This is wild. Maybe Bob Worldbuilder is paying the difference on everybody's order. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's a possibility. I see Kevin R. Smith says, for $10, you get the core book, the Dying Earth box set, and a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, but even at $1, somebody take a peek to see what you get for the $1. I know you get the core book because I looked. Because I always take a peek to see, all right, what do you get at the lowest? And a lot of times with the humble bundles, the lowest is like, oh, okay, it's all right. But a lot of times they don't include like the core rule books. You got to get at least the second or third tier to get the core rule book. That is not the case here. Pretty wild. So you've got until January 22nd to take advantage of this. I will mention from my own personal experience, because I did jump aboard the Lankmar bundle that they had. If you do decide you want to get the 4 randomly selected softcover Dungeon Crawl Classics adventures, it'll probably take about 3 weeks or more to get it because, well, okay, maybe that was the holidays had a little something to do with that too. But Goodman Games isn't like really fast as far as shipping their stuff out. So Kevin R. Smith says $1 gets you the core book, Sailors on a Starless Sea, which I have run and we had a lot of fun with, a free RPG day adventure, and a coupon for the website. So wow, so the $1 gets you that 40% off coupon. Yeah, there's like a 40% off a physical order coupon. I don't know if it includes everything, but gotta say, this is one of the more impressive bundles we've seen. Probably the most exciting one we've seen this year. Granted, the year's only 8 days old, but still. All right, moving right along. Somebody had commented, I want to say it was last night's show, about me not talking about the Osric 3.0 being available. And I know I had talked about it prior to the holiday break, I didn't share a news piece for it because it wasn't like available yet. I did share a news piece on thegaminggang.com back on New Year's Eve. So that's why I didn't include a news piece for it, because I figured, well, I've already shared the news. But I guess people want to know more. So Mythmere Games has released the first of their 2 volumes, which will comprise the 3rd edition of the Osric role-playing game. Here's the lowdown on the player guide. Onward to adventure! Osric 3.0 is your introduction to a world of fierce and wily dragons, forgotten dungeons, and glittering treasure. Your character might explore ancient ruins filled with traps and magic, or roam the wilderness beyond civilization's reach, gaining new levels and power as you accumulate treasure and experience. You and your other party members may come face to face with the great mysteries of the world while crafting powerful magic items or establishing strongholds to protect the weak from the forces of evil. Are you ready to become a legend? Originally written in 2005-2006 as a retro clone of the 1st edition of Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, Osric is now in its 3rd version, newly revised for clarity and accuracy. The Osric Player Guide contains everything you need for character creation and all of the player-facing rules. Right now, the Player Guide is out in PDF. It is absolutely free over at DriveThruRPG. If you swing on over to the gaminggang.com, you can click on the gaming news. You will see the Osric news piece. Click on that. It'll take you to the link to get it for free. This was also crowdfunded. So there is a late pledge on backer kit for the hardcover. And it appears that there will be 2 styles. There will be the traditional portrait style, and then there's also a landscape style, which I thought was kind of weird, unless the landscape style is going to have 2 of these pages on each page. I don't know. But you can still jump aboard and reserve a copy of the hardcover for $35. Nice. Kevin R. Smith says with that Dungeon Crawl Classics, it's the Dungeon Crawl Classics Yearbook 11. No idea what's in that. Usually the yearbooks will have short adventures, some monsters. It might have a patron or 2. Usually there's some new spells. So usually the yearbooks have quite a bit in the mix. They used to do, I want to say, I think they used to be the Goodman Games yearbook. So they would have Dungeon Crawl Classics adventures. They'd have X-Crawl adventures with the 1st edition of X-Crawl. I want to say there was usually like some Mutant Crawl Classic stuff. Now I think they just do a DCC yearbook, and it's all additional Dungeon Crawl Classics goodies. So very nice. Anyway, so pick up Osric, the player book. Able to get that absolutely free in PDF over at DriveThruRPG. I have no idea when the Game Master's Guide is going to come out. Not a clue. I'm sure there's probably somebody in chat who's got a better idea of what's going on with that than I do. All right, that is it for the news tonight. Of course, just talking about DriveThruRPG. Don't forget the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you're going to go visit, say, DriveThruRPG, stop on by the gaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banners. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep the gaminggang.com around. month to month. And I should point out right now, DriveThruRPG is in the midst of their New Year, New Game sale, where you can save up to 75% off. And Dungeon Masters Guild is having the New Year, New Campaign sale. I think the savings are up to 50% off for that. Very nice. Of course, there are a couple other ways that you can help support the outlet. If you, if you happen to like what we do, if you dig the channel, if you find the Gaming Gang to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, first of all, how about giving the video a thumbs up? If you're watching on mobile, how about doing a little hype? Hype the channel a little bit, that little hype button. Tell your friends, spread the word. I know I have people, somebody just commented on one of the videos and they said they just can't understand why the channel doesn't have more viewers. Don't know what to tell you, gang. The only way to, really help build the channel, and I know now it's like, well, I've been sharing videos since, 2012 now? Probably a little late for that, huh? But it's word of mouth. Thumbs up, comments, telling your friends. If you're on, social media, sharing it on social media to people who, would maybe be interested in checking it out. I don't know. Anyway, but hey, if you like what we do, you can always make a one-time donation by way of PayPal. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Lovely. Or you can become a monthly member of our Patreon. You'll find links in the show notes. Also in those show notes, you're going to find an invite link to our Discord server. That's right. You can sign up. It's absolutely free. So be sure to hang with the gang over on Discord. All right. As I mentioned in the open, we're going to be diving on in. We're going to take a look at the 13th Age Second Edition Gamemaster's Guide from Pelgrane Press. But before we do so, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
Hey, Mom. Yes, you. Why fuss and fret about dinner? Why not have it right here? Yes, this drive-in offers everyone in the family a real picnic treat for dinner. We've got delicious sandwiches with all the trimmings and your other dinner favorites, plus whatever you want to drink, hot or cold. Come early before the show starts, or eat while you're being entertained, or at intermission time. So why fuss? Give your family a tasty dinner at this drive-in.
This is it. Enemy troops attacking from all sides. Situation calls for the gigantic power-packed missile cannon on wheels. This is Big Shot. Big Shot by Marx. Mounted on its huge 6-wheel truck, you can move Big Shot anywhere. Loaded with these long-range rubber-tipped missiles. Set the cap-firing hammer. Swing Big Shot's barrel with this remote control switch. The remote control elevation knob raises and lowers the barrel.
Take it out elevation 4. There's the target.
Ready, fire!
Wow, direct hit!
Battery-powered Big Shot comes complete with 3 rubber-tipped missiles, caps, and enemy target. Batteries not included. You're in command with the gigantic power-packed missile cannon on wheels. Bargain priced Big Shot by Marx. Get it.
Come below, the Wilkins coffee's ready. I don't like coffee. Okay, Mac, have some water. I must have said the wrong thing.
Big Shot, the third and mascot, flavor of the mascot, and that peppermint flavor hangs on, hangs on, hangs on to what it's got.
When beechnut makes gum, the flavor hangs on.
Yeah, that Russian gushy flavor hangs on, hangs on, hangs on to what it's got.
hang on to flavor.
By beech nut, by gum.
Sergio Leone, the master of adventure, who brought you A Fistful of Dollars for a few dollars more, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, now brings Rod Steiger and James Coburn together to blow you apart. Rod Steiger as Juan, a mean, filthy, greedy, rotten, bloodthirsty bandit. When his finger gets itchy, someone gets scratched. James Coburn as John, the exploding Irishman, a walking stick of dynamite with a very short fuse. Rub him the wrong way, and he'll go off in your face. Duck, you sucker. You understand now?
Anything you say, firecracker.
Together, they'll blow you apart.
We are like two brothers. I mean, you make the holes with the holy water, and I walk in and do the dirty work, huh? You come here to join the revolution.
Oh, one was enough for me.
Don't you suckers! I think we should get out of here.
Well, you can't leave now. You're a great, grand, glorious hero of the revolution. What are you talking about, revolution? Trust me. No.
Ah, Putin!
Duck, you sucker. Rod Steiger and James Coburn, together, they'll blow you apart. Duck, you sucker.
Rod Steiger in the role of a lifetime in Duck, You Sucker. So if you just heard that title, if you were not familiar with the Leone movie from, I think it's 71. I've seen it once. If you had only heard, oh, the movie's from like the early 1970s and it's called Duck, You Sucker, you'd think, oh, obviously it's blaxploitation. Has to be. Who's in it? Right? You know, like, Pam Grier in this one? And you're like, wait a second. Rod Steiger? Yeah, there you go. Agile Monk says, Flint. Yeah, Coburn's in it. Yeah, I mean, the movie's all right. It's not one of Sergio's best, I'll tell you that much. But it's entertaining. It's worth a watch. I will say that. All right, so tonight we're going to dive on in. We are going to take a first look at the 13th Age Second Edition Gamemaster's Guide from Pelgrane Press. This 250-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $54.95. If you want to grab the PDF, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $29.95. All right, having said all that, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got the Game Master's Guide for 13th Age, 2nd edition. Now, if you were watching Tuesday night, we took a peek at the Player's Handbook. Now we're going to take a peek at the Game Master's Guide. A few things to mention before we jump on in. First of all, the fine folks over at Pelgrane Press were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this first look with you. It's important you know that. Believe it or not, it actually is. We're not going to look at each and every page of the book either, but I do want to give you a very good feel for what you're going to find inside. All right, let's take a look at the back here. Unite story and crunch. Wide open stories. A rich and atmospheric setting you and your players can customize for your unique campaign. Each hero is connected to one or more icons, such as the Archmage, Lich King, or Prince of Shadows, which gives them a place in the world story, even at first level. Crunch your crunch! Streamlined combat rules harness the good bits of crunchy tactical combat without ticky-tacky measurements. Innovations like the escalation die improve combat in most any game, not just ours. Each character class has its own unique features, advantages, and play style. It's going to tell us what's in this book. We're going to take a peek inside and find out for ourselves. First thing we'll do is take a peek at the credits page. These fine folks work very hard to bring this to life. Let's give credit where credit is due. Do want to mention somebody had commented on Tuesday's video. Come on, Jeff. It's English, man. I'm not even reading it. Now I just can't speak. Someone had commented on Tuesday's video that they thought the art was trash in the player's book. And they said, it's AI. Now I checked before I said, send this along to me, because if you follow the Gaming Gang, you know I do not share any sort of video or news pieces. I don't promote any sort of game product that was created with AI. AI artwork, AI writing, anything like that. I will not promote that. Some people don't like the fact I won't do that, but that's just me. To me, AI is just stealing from other creatives out there, and I'm just not cool with that. So it's my understanding that AI was not utilized for the second edition of 13th Age. So be that as it may. Now, that doesn't mean that the artwork isn't digital. We see that all over the place. So, but, yeah, the commenter who, I could understand, the artwork looked kind of uneven as we were flipping on through. I haven't started reading it yet for review. So I can't really say, positive, negative about the artwork because I didn't see enough of it really. But I know it's not created by AI. So is it digital artwork? Some of it is. Yeah, most definitely. All right. So we're going to get into the book here. It's going to talk about the different realms. So we've got the 3 realms. We've got the Dragon Empire. So the world has 3 great realms: the land, the underworld, and the overworld. The land is home to most of the heroes and villains of the 13th Age, so its places and features get the most attention here and in the rest of the 13th Age role-playing line. I'm guessing that we're going to have a gazetteer, probably maybe some optional rules or a little more detail rules about like combat and exploration, probably a bestiary as well. And then, of course, advice on how to run 13th Age, second edition. I mean, that's my guess. I mean, you could go back and take a look at the table of contents, I guess, which I usually do. I'm so busy yapping away about the person talking about the AI art that I skipped on by that. Didn't really take a peek. So want to say hello to a few people who've popped on into chat. My apologies to our chat moderator, the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D. She has been with us tonight. Forgot to say hello to her when we started off the show, so please forgive me. We also have Troy Cornelson, Mark Hawkswell. We have Kevin King has popped on in. It's funny because I'll see the nicknames and I'll have to be like, okay, wait a second. Okay, that's yes. Okay, that's okay. Yeah. All right, that's Kevin King. Yes. All right, that's Mark. Yeah. Okay, got it. RPG Design is with us as well. Gotta say, nickname's not ringing a bell. It might be a first time visit in chat, or it could be another situation with a changed nickname and it's somebody who hangs out with us all the time. I think I've said hello to everybody. So hopefully that will be the case. Sarah says, forgiven, I was lurking. The glitter isn't always easy to see. Anyway, Mark had said AI also tends to feel pretty hollow and soulless. So does some digital artwork too, though, I have to admit. Right, so we've got icon centers of power. So we were taking a look at the icons in the player's book. Some pretty interesting stuff here. I am hearing things from folks out there who are familiar with 13th Age, and I think second edition as well, because they may have backed it when it was in its crowdfunding run and they got the PDFs, ahead of time. And some folks are saying the icons are like one of the big selling points of 13th Age. And then I heard from some people saying, you know what? The icons are what kind of, takes away from 13th Age. So I'm like, okay. Don't know. I'll find out when I read it. And Robert T. Reynolds II is popping on in. I believe this is also maybe a first-time visit with us from Robert, so welcome aboard. So we've got the Dragon Empire. We've got the various different indicators here for which icon rules what area. Like the map. Map looks cool. Is this alphabetical order? I think it is. So we've got Anvil, the Bloodwood, the Cathedral, Direwood, Drakenhall, City of Monsters. The strangest of the 7 cities is home to monsters and people, all kept in line by the power of its draconic ruler, the Blue. It is a testament to the Emperor's power that the Blue operates under his authority, or perhaps it is a testament to his naivety that he treats the Blue, trusts the Blue this much. Long ago, the city's name was High Rock. The powerful magical defenses of its fortified walls pointed toward the Koru Straits and repelled at least 4 serious invasions that might have slipped into the Empire. Oh, so wait, so we're going to find out the defenses were facing the ocean, but they were invaded by land? I wonder if we're going to see that. Still, the city fell either to monsters or to betrayal, and mostly laid in ruins. Everything changed when the Blue Dragon, the sorceress plotter with quasi-legal status in the Empire, made the city her own. From the ruins, the Blue rebuilt the city, open to both citizens of the Empire and monsters that ordinarily wouldn't be trusted to live in a city. I do have the feeling that this is a fantasy setting that, let's see, what phrase would I use here? I don't want to say it doesn't take itself too seriously. I don't want to say that, but it seems as if this is a high fantasy setting that may not necessarily be just all, grim and everything's falling apart and things like that. I think there might be a little whimsy. There you go. That's the word I'm looking for. It feels like there might be a little whimsy in this setting. So it's certainly not a Shadow of the Demon Lord sort of thing. Kevin R. Smith says, I like the icons. It captures the feel of being epic characters, have connections with the movers and shakers of the world. Robert says, no, it's just been a while since they were here. Well, welcome back. So we have Hellmarsh, Hydock, the Iron Sea, the Isle of Fire, the Northern Colossus, 10 times larger than the biggest giant. This great marble and granite statue of a warrior sits on a mountain that borders on the passes used by both the Empire and the barbarians for invading each other's territory. During this age, it has moved only once, a few decades ago, when it stood up from where it used to sit and walked to its current location. There you go. Like I said, that feels a little whimsical to me. The dwarves call it the Hammer Guard. The elves say it is a Star Warden. And the Emperor says the first dragon emperor created it and gave it a secret name that also controls it. If you're wondering whether there's also a Southern Colossus, you could probably come up with something pretty cool. So it does appear that this is all Game Master facing. So here we go. Here's the running the game. So we've got your campaign's identity, heroes on a mission, which is their default, elf saga. All the heroes are elves, half elves, or related to elves. Cult hunters. The heroes are agents of the Dwarf King. They're operating out of Shadowport to defeat the Diabolists' underground cult and criminal organization. Discord and Concord. The heroes are sworn into the service of Concord's military commander, the Swordbreaker General. So it looks like they're troubleshooters around the city. Battle in the Overworld. Players start at 8th level and all the action takes place in or adjacent to the Overworld, protecting a community of Azamar, which it turns out means defeating a vampiric ogre mage and its minions. And then we have the Forbidden theme. The heroes think the icon they're working for is good, but the secret of the campaign is that the icon is actually evil, and the missions the heroes went on before finding out all had evil outcomes. Never do this. It's like saying, don't screw your players over like that. So we have the 10 arc campaign. So a discussion of that. Icons through the ages, icons by other names, prepping adventures, hazards, social encounters, heroes entering mid-arc. So it looks like we've got building battles. Before the heroes fight a battle, the GM decides which monsters in what numbers are on the enemy's side. You'll prepare some battles before the session starts, and you'll put together others on the fly. So battle level by arc, optimum monster levels. Some examples here. Battlefield dangers, loot, treasure, and rewards. Wasn't there a 13th Age book that was pretty popular that was all about loot? Kevin R. Smith says that 13th Age is definitely supposed to capture epic fantasy more than sword and sorcery or grimdark. Yeah, I didn't get a grimdark vibe from this at all. So environment DCs for skill checks. So remember, there are different tiers for the player characters, so different tiers for the adventures. So you have adventure, champion, and epic. Like I said, I haven't started reading the book yet, so I can't really tell you what those are. I'm taking a guess. Adventure is probably your first 3 levels. If I remember right, there's 10 levels. Player characters get 10 levels. All right, here we got our bestiary. So there's a key to our monster entries. So there's a tile. It looks like this is for the icon that the monster has some sort of a tie to. Talks about the monster role. So we've got animals. So we got dire rats, giant beetles. In your campaign, low-level adventurers have been fighting rats since the 1970s. So we had to include them. They work well with goblins and can learn to work with anyone. If your party is champion or epic tier, dire rats scale up easily to be demon rats, apocalypse rats, or whatever you need. If you're sick of rats, reskin them as white jackals, war foxes, or whatever fits. So I gotta say, the artwork in this book, I like it a lot more than I did what we were seeing in the player's handbook. At least the artwork it feels a little more uniform here. I think that was one of the things I had noticed with the player book was that it was kind of all over the place. And it did seem like there was a lot more digital artwork that really looked digital. Agile Monk says there are definitely some interesting changes to second edition over the first edition. Let's see. Let's find something that's a little different. So here we got the dragons. Oh, we got a Drider. There we go. So we got giants. All right, let's see what we got with the gnolls. According to some, gnolls ruled the land before the Wizard King established human civilization. But they forgot their noble past and now live as bloodthirsty barbarians and bandits. According to others, gnolls were created as pawns of demon lords and dark gods and occasionally scramble up to the status of barbarians and bandits. A little bit different take on gnolls. Gnoll specials are all about different unfair ways to deal damage, such as blood fury or pack tactics. So we've got the Gnoll Ranger, the Gnoll Skirmisher, the Gnoll War Leader. So we've got their armor class, we've got their physical defense, we've got their mental defense, and their hit points. So as an example, with the Gnoll Ranger, their tracking skills are inhuman, and so is the way they treat prisoners. 4th level archer, humanoid, +9 to their initiative. They have gleaming hand axes, +7 versus AC, 2 attacks, 8 damage or 16 if the Gnoll and the target are both staggered with blood fury. With that miss, 4 damage if another Gnoll is also engaged with the target. Remember, if you were watching on Tuesday's show, you can do damage with a miss. Now, that was kind of interesting. Kind of speeding up combat, that's for certain. Now, you don't always do that, but in certain situations. Kevin R. King says, seems they have the same design aesthetic as Paizo, Battle Zoo, and Cobalt Press, though different from Wizards of the Coast. As far as the artwork, is that what you're talking about, Kevin? Because I'd maybe disagree with you on that. I would say like Battle Zoo, like Roll for Combat. Oh, page layout. Yeah, I would say that's similar. So I was going to say, normally, like Roll for Combat has kind of a more cartoonish look to the art. And Cobalt Press always has a very uniform look. And I know some people talk about, oh, it's their artwork is so static. Not always. Plus, it's pretty it's usually really solid artwork anyway. Paizo, I like Paizo's art direction with second edition remaster as opposed to like first edition. All right, so we also have ranged hefty longbow plus 10 versus armor class. One nearby or far away enemy, 11 damage. Natural even hit or miss. The goal can make a second longbow attack as a free action. There's also the quick shot. When the Knoll Ranger is unengaged and an enemy moves to engage it, it can make a single hefty longbow attack against that enemy as a free action just before becoming engaged. No follow-up shot, even if the natural attack roll is even. Now we have nastier specials. Hates everyone. Crit range of attacks by Knoll Rangers expands by 2 against player characters. Animal Companion. Add a wolf, giant scorpion, or giant spider that acts after the ranger. It is not part of the battle building math. Isn't that special? I noticed there is kind of a conversational tone to this book, especially, which is fine. I don't have a beef with that. I don't necessarily expect role-playing game rule books to be like, real dry technical writing. So in your campaign, you'd expect Knolls to serve the Diabolist. Diabolist? Maybe that's it. Diabolist? If anyone. But that's the case. Oh, but what's the case in your campaign? Have they made a tentative peace with the Elf Queen to serve as mercenaries in the underworld? Do they work with the High Druid and wield magic of the wilds? Have they been scattered across the land so they're now found singly or in groups wherever there's work for scoundrels? Knolls work all manner of beasts, so here's your chance to include owlbears, dire wolves, and other critters alongside weapon-using antagonists. Gotta say, kind of dig the direction with the Knolls there. So we've got goblins. So got a few different goblins: Goblin Grunt, Sorcerer, Goblin Scum, Hobgoblin Warrior, Bugbear, Hobgoblin Captain. Got a couple of bookmarks here. A Hungry Star. By default, Hungry Stars are from a dimension where space obeys different geometry, or you can use them as servitor demons, as underworld guard beasts, as the unknown creatures in a living dungeon, or maybe as a one-off monster, such as transformed Darrow sorcerers. Players expect to meet extra-dimensional creatures in a living dungeon, in a pocket dimension, or maybe where reality is becoming frayed. But the real question is, where couldn't these things show up? Suppose Hungry Stars arbitrarily regard creatures with high numbers of limbs or necks or heads to be allies instead of prey. Hydras, four-armed Shahagan mutants, the Swordapus from Eyes of the Stone Thief, the Devil of the Fangs and Soul Flensers from 13 True Ways, spiders of all sizes, Driders, Mirrorless, we're just going on and on, chimeras and many other multi-something creatures may find themselves accompanied by cooperative, though not communicative, bands of hungry stars. These are the hungry stars here. Kind of have a bit of a Lovecraftian vibe to them. So it looks like we've got a good number of monsters in here. And then we have a section. This is still within the bestiary in alphabetical order, because we just went from Medusa and Minotaur to NPCs. So different types of NPCs there. Get into the ogres, owlbears, phase spiders. I was going to also point out that it seems to me as if a lot of these creatures could be used as templates for something else. So a wyvern doesn't necessarily have to be like a wyvern. It could be something along the lines of maybe like a baby rock. Here you go, right there. Modifying monsters. Leveling monsters up and down. Baseline stats. For standard monsters, mooks and weaklings. Oh, we'll have to check out what weaklings were. I guess weaklings are even worse than mooks. All right, we get into our treasure. Healing potions, runes, one-use items. Oh, you mean like ciphers? Yeah, different game. Unique or one-of-a-kind items. Respect for magic. For experienced players or GMs, if the number of high-tier items seems low at champion and epic tiers, that may be because our approach to magic items changed in this edition. In first edition, adventurer tier items tended to be a drag at epic tier. In second edition, we're giving true magic items their due. If an item is worth having at adventurer tier, it should still be worthwhile at champion and epic tiers. Aha. The improvements to default bonuses mean that champion and epic tier items still matter a great deal, but items players treasure because of their powers at a lower tier are relevant at a higher tier. Okay. So we've got different types of treasure. It's like different magical treasure here. It's like we're getting right to the point. So Wand of Angry Bees. I wonder what that does. When you hit with a natural even attack roll, when the escalation die is 2 or higher, you may deal 5 additional damage for each battle you have previously fought this arc. Champion hero plus 10, epic hero plus 20. So we have quips and quirks with our magical items. I saw that section. I just wasn't reading from it. So a quip, low buzz. So the player character makes a low buzz. Or avenge the queen. And a quirk is you love honey so much, maybe too much. Reading Aid is joining us tonight. Good to see you once again. So we got some wondrous items. I would be curious how well implemented 13th Age Second Edition will be for virtual tabletops. I wonder, because you know what? I think nowadays that plays a pretty large role in how popular a fantasy role-playing game is going to be if it's outside the spectrum of D&D and Pathfinder. That's why when you see like virtual tabletops, Pathfinder is closer to Dungeons and Dragons player-wise, especially when you bring Foundry into the equation, because of its implementation, especially on Foundry. So you got GM options, player picks, Quirky McQuirk Quirk. Here we go. Using first edition resources. There's a ton of great source books and adventures already published for 13th Age. You know, it's kind of funny because one of the complaints I've heard from people was that the first edition of 13th Age didn't have enough support. Didn't it? They're broadly compatible with the new rules. Here's how to get the most out of first edition books or other resources. And see page 224 for an annotated list of some of the books available. Add monsters, at least for parties of 4 or more heroes. Adding monsters brings the battles up to 2E difficulty Watch out for single shot damage that's too high. Some first edition monsters deal too much damage with a single attack. Multi-class thoughtfully. We wrote up the new classes to make them the best that we could without constraining them to fit in the existing multi-class system as found in 13 True Ways. Use your best judgment on how to apply the rules. Odd-only spell levels. If a 1E spellcasting class gets better spells at only the odd levels, stick with it. In 2E, we gave spellcasters new spell levels at every level, but we compensated by powering them down in damage. When a 1E adventure features orcs serving the Orc Lord, they could be orcs that have fallen under the control of another villainous icon, or you can reskin them into some other sort of monster. So I guess we don't have an Orc Lord anymore. Possibly. And you can strip it for parts. Well, there you go. I always say kit bash. So yes, grab inspiration, I guess we'll say. Kevin R. Smith says it can be weird implementing a system that doesn't care about granular positioning on a virtual tabletop. I don't know about that. I think it would all depend. Because I'm relatively familiar with Fantasy Grounds. I'm probably a little more familiar with Foundry. I have never checked out Roll20 or D&D Beyond. Although I have always heard that like Roll20 is more theater of the mind, that it doesn't have like really well supported like tactical play and stuff like that. I don't know. But I would think it wouldn't be too tough. All really depends. To me, it would depend on how invested you are in like monster tokens and player character tokens and battle maps and, all those kind of things like sound effects and, like animated effects and things like that. I think if you're really into that, then yeah, you're probably not going to be too keen on something where it's like, oh, close and far. I don't know if that's how the ranges work here, but there are games where it's like, okay, so I can touch you, you're close, you're far, or you're very far away. Those are the range bands that we've got. So I think if you are somebody who's really into the graphical chrome, yeah, probably might not work as well. But then again, if you're like all theater of the mind and you're just as a game master tossing up some images for your players to enjoy, I don't think it's a big deal. So there's the 13 True Ways. So that is one of the books I had heard about. Book of Loot. That's the one I was thinking about. No, I take that back. Loot Harder. That is the one I had heard about. Remember I said there was a supplement that was out there for first edition for treasure and magic items. That was the one I heard about. I heard good things about. All right. And then we will also have our glossary index to wrap up. And that is a peek inside 13th Age Second Edition's Gamemaster's Guide from Pelgrane Press. I like that. We're done here now. So go play. All right. Sweet. So Reading Aid said, seemed like a lot of support to me. Actually, opening this up, did look like there were quite a few books. Let's go back to that real quick. Yeah. More so than some fantasy role-playing game systems out there. I don't know as far as like adventures. Maybe that's where it was a little lacking, was in adventures. But yes, I have heard some people say that, 13th Age didn't get enough support. Once again, this is my first exposure to 13th Age, so I can't really comment on that. Let's see. Kevin R. Smith says, personally, I like the idea of a game that you can run online using only voice chat. Yeah. Yeah, have your die roller. Have that available. Yeah. I don't see an issue with that. Depends on what you're going to play. If somebody was going to play Pathfinder 2nd Edition Remaster, then I would be like, no, you don't want that on like Roll20 or whatever. You don't want to just have to manually figure all this stuff out in your head as the game master or as players. If you're going to use a virtual tabletop, use a virtual tabletop that's going to take advantage of the implementation that's been done. But Kevin R. Smith says, as far as the ranges, I think it's nearby, far away, and very far away are similar terms. With nearby meaning you can get to a character in one move. Yes, you could close the distance there. All right. Sweet. So once again, the Game Master's Guide for 13th Age 2nd Edition is available now. I received a slipcase for both of the core books, and the Game Master's Guide carries an MSRP of $54.95. If you want to grab the PDF, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $29.95. Very nice. And of course, I will have a review of the Game Master's Guide in the not too distant future. Should also mention, if you missed yesterday's show, I am giving away a PDF copy of the Original Adventures Reincarnated Volume 9, The Caverns of Thracia, from Goodman Games. Watch last night's show, discusses how you can get into the running, and I will reveal the winner tomorrow on my Blue Sky account. So jump on in. You still got time. I think I'll probably pick the winner around 2-3 o'clock Central Time. And next week, of course, I will be in Philadelphia for the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo. My best friend Elliot Miller is joining me. Looks like he might end up having to do some computer work for the live streams. I don't know. This seems very seat of the pants. And those of you who know me from conventions when I'm doing my interviews and stuff like that, I mean, I can roll with the punches, but I don't tend to do things half-assed. So I'm a little concerned. It's almost like, okay, so who's operating the camera? Not that, as long as there's a way to lock focus, that's all that really matters. But I don't know, somebody's got to be keeping an eye on the computer for the live stream. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So I'd already told Elliot, I said, do not be shocked if I need him in the morning, because my block is 10 to noon. I'm going to joke around that it's the morning zoo. Yeah. But I might actually need him to oversee the production going on, because I don't want to look like an idiot. So, if I'm going to look like an idiot, I want it because I am an idiot, not because of something that I have no control over. Anyway, next Tuesday, I think there will be a show. I'm pretty sure, of course, obviously enough, check out the Gaming Gang channel here, the posts section, as I will let you know ahead of time. I think we're going to do some Dolmenwood adventures, because I have 4 Dolmenwood adventures and the miniatures. And as you can see, these aren't really long adventures. This is, I'm going to guess 40 pages, not even 34. So that's probably what we're looking at. So I think we could probably rock through first looks at all 4 current Dolmenwood adventures from Necrotic Gnome and Exalted Funeral, and get a peek at the miniatures as well. So right now, I would say it's probably 85-15 that there will be a show next Tuesday. Of course, and then I'll be in Philadelphia Wednesday through Sunday. So won't have any other streams, but I'll be back Tuesday after that. I'll kind of do a recap what went down at page 3. All right, that is it for this time out. If you were watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, tip of the cap to you, because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company while I'm sharing the news or flipping on through a role-playing game book, what have you. But of course, I know a lot of folks out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you for taking time out to watch any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. It is vastly appreciated. Yay. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. I'll also inform you when I share other videos, such as my recent review of Dungeons Deep for Tales of the Valiant, and here, that way, Dungeons and Dragons from my friends over at Cobalt Press. I should have a couple of reviews up this weekend, so stay tuned on those. All right, everybody, thank you kindly for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening. Enjoy the rest of the week. And of course, you know, whatever you got cooking in your neck of the woods. And as always, I certainly hope every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.